morning, everybody, and welcome back to Board Game Breakfast, which is Tuesday instead of Monday, because we were still moving back from the Orlando retreat yesterday. The library came in. It's safe and sound. Okay, it's safe. I don't know if it's sound. Got a lot of checking and reconfiguration to do. I just kicked 10 games out of the library, and more will follow. More will come in. We'll talk about that later on today when we get to our segment called Hot or Not. So first of all, we want to do a shout out to some of our Kickstarter backers. We want to say thank you to Jake Lowe from Singapore, to Alessia Cardetti, thank you very much, to Jake Zeck, Jason Wallace, Charles Mitchell, and the Brett Spiel Company in Kristiansand, Norway. I'd like to thank you all for supporting our Kickstarter. That's a really big deal. We also like to thank our sponsor, Pandasaurus, but you know why we're thanking them? Because there's a contest, folks. We have a contest for folks in the U.S. For 2 copies of That Time You Killed Me. Now, you can see that game right there behind me, and in fact, a review of that's going up this week. It is a 2-player game that is both very thematic and abstract at the same time, which is an interesting thing. You have these pawns that are jumping from the present to the past to the future, and you're trying to take each other out almost in a chess style. But there's different modules that change the game, like you can plant a seed in the past, and it turns into a tree in the future. So very interesting, very heady. I like it. All you have to do to enter this contest is to email us at contest@dicetower.com. In the subject line, put the word time, and then answer the question, how many players can play That Time You Killed Me? Which means you just listen to me mention this. So I really should read these questions before I talk about the game. So, so all that's going on. We're back. Now, some things are changing. There's going to be some fluctuations. I'm out of pocket this week for most of the week, so you're going to see some of our live shows, which are still happening, have different folks on them than normal. But where you're back, the reviews are being recorded. Like I said, I'm actually recording That Time You Killed Me review as soon as Board Game Breakfast here is done. American Thanksgiving is next week, so holidays around the corner. We're prepping for the Winter Spectacular, where we talk about the best games of the year. And oh my, folks, there are so many good games that we played last week to talk about. There are so many good games in existence. Anyone who says there's no good games that came out this year needs to find a new hobby. That's probably too harsh. Get out of the hobby. No, I went harsher. Play some of these great games. That's better. All right, let's jump to some contributors, and we'll be right back.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella from Meeple University and the Dice Tower. Got a bunch of games here, Tarrant?
Yes, we've got a bunch of games all from Hobby World, and they're all of a similar type, and I guess it's almost a type that you would now associate with Hobby World.
Correct.
It's not all of their games, but certainly they have a lot of the ones of this type.
Spyfall, been out for a while.
Yep. Spy Fest is it says Spycon, but that was later renamed to Spy Fest. And then the new one, which is Dubious.
Coming out in 2022. It's not as nerve-wracking as Spyfall, is not as fast-paced as Spyfall, and you're not going to be stuck with one person who's the spy.
Yeah. I think all of these games, they're basically word puzzle types of games where you're trying to describe a job or a location in a vague enough way that some people understand it, but not everyone. And Spyfall did that with a clock, which always stressed me out, and I think stressed out a lot of people I played with.
Oh, no.
Dubious is, more time friendly. You get a character, and you get a secret, and you get some questions, and you have to answer them in sufficiently vague ways that somewhere between not everyone and not no one guesses them correctly.
A bit like Dixit. So yeah, this is my favorite out of the games. Like the latest one was Spycon, and now Dubious. Yes, it lets you be creative and you create your own stories based on those answers. Yeah.
And I think Hobby World has done a really good job of making this sort of game.
I'll play that again.
Coming out.
Yeah, of course. And just watch out for that. Google it or BGG it.
Yes.
We must observe the following safety guidelines. 1. Avoid contact with the plague at all costs. 2. Work together with our team. 3. Beware the Hollow Men. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of the work we are doing to save humanity. It's time to take our first steps into the larger world.
Assalamu alaikum. So you have finally finished Pandemic Legacy Season 1 or Season 2. What do you do with that box now? Throw it? Recycle it? Set it on fire? Please don't do that, because there is enough content in this game for you to play it just like any other regular Pandemic game. And why not? All you need is these rule sets that I have created. For Pandemic Legacy Season 1, the rule set is called Faded Future. And for Pandemic Legacy Season 2, it's called The Aftermath. Using these rule sets, what you're going to actually get is a guideline that how you can use your now Pandemic in whatever state your board is for your future perpetual games. Plus, it has some penalty modes as well and reward modes that you can use your extra stickers, extra game content, even in future games as well. Plus, the game is going to come. I have included some customized objectives which you are going to now play, shuffle, and use these objective cards rather than what came specifically for each month of the season. So in this way, you can actually give an infinite life to Season 1 or Season 2 box of your Pandemic Legacy. So if that's something that interests you, get these downloadable files from the link below. That's it for me. Happy gaming!
All right, folks, let's talk about a game that came out 20 years ago and then had a second edition come out 10 years ago, and that is Evo. Now, this is the version you're seeing here is the one that came out 10 years ago. The other one was a much more cartoony looking game. This game is designed by Philip Keyarts, who only really designed 2 games of note, and that's Evo and Vinci, although Vinci was remade into a much more popular game called Small World. So that's his claim to fame, right? Small World has done very well. Evo, you are a group of dinosaurs in this game just trying to survive. You play some dinosaurs on the board, you move them around, you can attack other dinosaurs and what have you, but you're just trying to survive because there's a meteor coming at the end or something and you just want to have the most dinosaurs when it happens because, I don't know, bragging rights? But you are evolving, so you are constantly trying to evolve. You actually have a picture of a dinosaur that you put little tokens on as you evolve, so that maybe you can stand, your dinosaurs can survive in hot zones, or they can survive in cold zones, or whatever. There's various things. It's a pretty nice game. It's streamlined. It definitely has interaction. Take that. Because you're going to hurt other people's dinosaurs. You're going to play things and do things to mess with other people. But there's a lot of strategy in it. I like it. I don't play it as much these days. It's just not a game that gets to the table as much because it is a bit of a product of its time. Even the one that came out 10 years ago still felt pretty close to the one that came out 20 years ago. They just changed more graphics than anything else. But Evo definitely is one of the first dinosaur games. Nowadays we have a gazillion to pick from. But, you know, I will say that most dinosaur games, you are Jurassic Parking it these days. Here, you are the dinosaurs. So there's that. Anyway, it's fun. It's worth checking out if you have time to do so. I would play it before I buy it. But that's Evo.
Hi, this is Ambi from Board Game Blitz, and today I'm talking about Elf on the Stealth, a Christmas-themed escape room game and a greeting card. In Elf on the Stealth, you're solving various puzzles in order to save Christmas. In order to go through the game, it uses a web app that's accessible through most devices, I think. But you can input answers to the puzzles in the web app, and the web app also contains a lot of the story. A lot of the puzzles are logic-based puzzles, like number grid puzzles and stuff like that, which are puzzles I tend to like, so I enjoy them a lot. Some of the puzzles are more vague, but the web app has a pretty good hint system with a couple of clues and then also showing the solution if you get stuck. If you've played other escape room type board games, this is more similar to the Exit series in that it's a destructive game. You might need to fold, rip, or tear, write on the things because it's just a paper that's printed out double-sided. It's a greeting card. And also, because it's double-sided paper, you need to make sure you print it pretty well in order to do some of the puzzles, because you'll be using the fact that it's double-sided. If you like escape room type games, and especially if you like logic puzzles, then Elf on the Stealth is a great one that you can print out and play yourself, or you can give it to a friend as a holiday card. Thanks for watching Board Game Blitz!
Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Nick Traeger with Meeples on the Ground, and today we're going to go over another historical peg game by New Venture Games. Let's get into it!
Fali is a two-player abstract strategy board game from Morocco. The age of the game is unknown, but it is of a type that is very ancient. Several such games are found in the Far East, and it is very similar to a game from Mozambique called Butterfly.
So, this is Fali, a two-player strategy game from New Venture Games, another one of their many historical peg games. In this game, you are trying to capture all of your opponent's pegs by hopping over them, such as like in checkers. And another way to win the game is to immobilize your opponent's pegs. So say if I was the white player and I made it so on my opponent's next turn, the yellow player, if they weren't able to move any of their pegs, that's another way you could win. So in the first move, you're going to decide which player goes first, and they'll go ahead and move one of their pegs, and then your opponent will go, and they will go ahead and skip over that peg, because that's the only option they have. And then go, and that's how you take the peg, and then you just keep going back and forth until someone loses all of their pegs, or one person is immobilized, and then resulting in the other player winning. And that's Fali from New Venture Games. We hope you all enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye!
All right, what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, first of all, later today, we're back. Shoots and Marbles. It's called, Rise of the Zombies. So we'll see you then. If you want to see marble racing, that will be the time. Come join us then. Let's see. Mark is previewing Skyrim today. That's a big GameFound project. I'm reviewing Savannah Park this week, taking a look at some of the games from Lucky Duck, both Kids Chronicles and Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy. Box 1 from Neil Patrick Harris. Tim from Dice Tower West, our convention director there, is going to show you off some of the shelves there. So we put some of those up that are going to go up later this week. We hope you enjoy that. And let's see here. That Time You Killed Me, I mentioned that. We're taking a look at several different reviews throughout the week. Z's going to be taking a look at some. And, of course, our regular shows are happening. Crowd Surfing is happening tomorrow. Board Game Breakfast happening on Thursday. I should also mention that next Monday, Board Game Breakfast is back on the schedule at 9 a.m. At 10 a.m., Z's doing What's Happening. At 11 a.m., we're getting tattooed live. Yay! We're all very excited about this, especially those of us who've never been tattooed before, have never even seen anyone tattooed, don't know anything about it, other than it's permanent. It hurts. Oh, it hurts? Why? What? Okay. Well, that's what's coming from the Dice Tower this week. Let's move on.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Hicks from Board Game Opinions, and this week's gaming tip is when to split. How many people is too many people? When should you split into 2 groups or 3 groups and play separate games? Now, different people will have different opinions, but my personal opinion is you should split on anything more than 5. Okay? The optimum number for playing any game generally is 4. There are some exceptions. So if you can get into groups of 4, that's perfect. Frequently, you can't. If you have a group of 5, I recommend just playing with 5. If you have a group of 6, I would never try playing a game with 6 or more people, unless it's a light party game. If you want to play a short party game for 10, 20 minutes, that's fine. But if you're playing anything that's heavier, particularly if it's a Euro, never play with 6 or more. Split into 2 3s. If you've got 7, obviously, it's a 4 and a 3. If it's 8, well, that's perfect. It's going to be 2 4s. So split like that. You don't want to try and play a heavy game with too many people. It can be a disaster. All right, how many players do we have then? 5, 6, 7. All right, so should we split into a 3 and a 4?
We could play Caverna.
I've not actually played it, but I've read the rules. How long does that take? It says 30 minutes. Okay. Everyone happy with that? Yeah? Let's give it a go. Let me see that box. It says 30 minutes per player. Oh. Now, it's no joke. I have seen exactly that situation happen with Caverna in real life. Oh my goodness, it was a nightmare. So, 6 or more, I recommend you split. You're much more likely to enjoy heavier games, definitely, with 3 or 4 people, rather than trying to play with 6 or more people. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.
All right, folks, hot or not. So what we did at Dice Tower Retreat last week is we put up this, we made a shelf of games that basically all the games that we got since the previous retreat, which happened in September. And then I made a page for each of these games where you could type on it, or you would write your name as hot or not. You can see only one person played, Patrick Halloween, and then wrote not. This doesn't really mean anything superbly, it doesn't mean anything tremendous. It's just I found it to be useful information and helps us. So I just thought I would talk about a few of the games and where they landed in this. So first we have the most divisive one here, which is Seven Wonders Architects. And you can see it's hot and not. And this is going in a library. I don't care how many people wrote it on not. But I'll tell you why. Because the retreat is made up of a lot of people who are die-hard gamers. And Seven Wonders Architects is not a die-hard gamer's game. I think it's a fantastic game, but it's certainly very, very light. On your turn, you have 3 options. Unless you play a longer game of it, which is like 30 minutes, you might go down to 2 options over the course of the game. But, you know, I think it's a fantastic game, but it is interesting to see that divisiveness there. Then we have Adventures of Robin Hood. Only knots on this one. A story-driven game. I haven't played it. I don't know if I want to now. So, Aqua Garden. Aqua Garden is all hot. Also, you can't buy it anywhere. I was just told that. It was a small Kickstarter. Hopefully, they redo it again. Then we have Bad Company. This is the dice game that Z reviewed. I also really like this one. It has some similarities to Space Base. It is a game of, you know, roll dice and get resources, but with an Ocean's 11 vibe to it. A couple people wrote not, but you can see mostly hot. All right, let's find one. Bitoku. Bob wrote meh here in the middle. This one's also fairly divisive, and I think some people are just overwhelmed by the dizzying array of choices, because there's no question that's, you know, the game has a ton of things that you can do. And other people like that. I think it's going to be like that for a while. Camel Up Off Season, all hot. This one I was a little surprised about because I thought it was merely okay, but obviously people like it. This is one of the few times, or not, I should say one of the few times, but this is one time where the hot or not actually decides whether it goes in the library. I was leaning towards no, but the fact that a lot of people wrote their names means it will go into the library. Let's see, what do we got here now? Cellulose. This is the new one here. This is 4-3. I think I'm curious where everyone's going to end up on this one. The people who wrote not here are very heavy gamers, and it's not that heavy of a game. It's a lighter worker placement game with a strong science theme to it. Clash of Cultures. Clash of Cultures is all hot. However, no one plays Clash of Cultures unless they're going to like it. That's my opinion. It was a long game. They played it like for 5 hours. All right, Dinosaur World, mostly hot. A little bit of not on there. This person said, I like Dinosaur Island better. Fair enough. But again, most people seem to enjoy that one. Here's another divisive one, Dog Lover, which is the sequel to Cat Lady, which, by the way, I didn't have Cat Lady in the library. Miss Thompson wrote cute, though. Not, but cute. I get it. Another light game. Another light game that Dollars to Donuts. You can see this one is also very divisive. And this is where you're going to see the divisiveness, right? Whenever there's a lighter game, a lot of folks are going to go, that's just too light. This person said felt illegal. I guess that's because you can put the tiles so they're hanging off the board. Either that or they think you shouldn't eat that many donuts. Someone says, how am I going to put the papers back in the binder? I'm going to throw these away. It's a one-time use thing. Doodle Dash, a simple party game, mostly hot than not. We got a couple games there that nobody played. No one played Battle Boss's Dreadful Circus. No one played Dune Betrayal. Dungeon Decorators. This is one I said was, that was my review, but look, all hot. Now I don't even know what to do with this one. Do I put it in the library or not? I have to make that decision. No one played Ariantis, Fairy Prank. Only one person played Floating World. Geisha's Road, which is the sequel to Hanami Koji, got 2 knots. Golem. All right. Golem is mostly hot. Only one sourpuss wrote not. I don't know anything about the game, and I kid because I really like the guy who wrote not. But this person wrote 98.6. I don't know what that means. Yeah, does that mean average? Yeah, but if you're cooking something, that's low. If I'm outside in the weather, that's terrible. I know what 98.6 is. Mike. Although, do you guys know that 98.6 is no longer the average temperature of the human body? So, erroneous. Well, Golem is very hot. Okay. The new Great Western Trail did very well. Of course, people play it probably like Great Western Trail. Hanami Koji, even. Although, I'll tell you, for hot or not, I saw the game played a lot more than the people who wrote it on here. This one surprised me. Hibachi has a lot of hot and some knots, but what surprised me is that many people played it. I think it's because people like going to hibachi restaurants, but it's a throw chips on the board. We played it here on the Dice Tower at some point. Here's a Unified Front, Horrified 2, all hot. I was surprised by that because it's so similar to the first one, and I thought some people would be disappointed that the Universal monsters were no longer in it. All right, Iberian Gauge had a few knots. Iki, mostly hot. Then Matt here wrote his name above the line, and one person said not. Those people are wrong, okay? It's hot. I'm not going to even let you look at the knots because they're wrong. Almost no one played Imperial Steam or In Too Deep. Kabuto Sumo. Now this one's interesting. This one has more knots than hots. There's another one where the game is going to be light, and so that's going to take some people out. But it's interesting here. I'm curious where this one will end up at the end of things. King Domino Origins. This one is a light game and yet mostly has hot on it. Oh, and someone wrote Coco Cabelli here in the past, and a few people wrote hot, and this person wrote medium warm. But just to be clear, if Tom Vassel's name was on here, it would be on the not side, but so far off it wouldn't be on the paper. That game's terrible. All right. Land vs. Sea. Mostly hot with some knots. Two-player game. Well, you can play more than 2 players, but everyone I think who played it 2 players. It's a pretty neat game. Lisbon 28. No one really played that. Lizard Wizard. Mostly hot. This one surprised me. I thought people would kind of lean towards Raccoon Tycoon, but people are enjoying this one. Llama 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 Land, all hot, which again surprised me because I know a few people played it and said that they liked his other games from Phil Walker Harding, like Barren Park and what's the other one? Gingerbread House, better, but Llama Land is doing quite well. Machikoro 2. Not many people played that one. Marvel Dice Throne. We had the Captain Marvel versus Black Panther. All hot. And that was played all the time. Although I didn't see anyone playing Dice Throne. That was weird. No one played $1 Million Script. Very few people played Monasterium. No one played Necromodes. No one played Neoville much. Night Cage got played by a few people. They all said it was hot. Night of the Ninja got played by several people. This was a... it's a social deduction game, but it feels different than most games that are out there. Night Parade had mostly hot on it. This was one I was surprised was played as much because I didn't think it had as much of a people knew about it, but it's really cute artwork. No one wrote anything for Ultri. Origins, all hot. This is one of those games that feels like a T game. I saw this one played quite a bit. And no one played Patchwork, Halloween, Pinpoint, Quest Avalon, Rocketeer. Savannah Park, which I said in my review that's going up today, had some hots and some knots and arrows that are drawn all over the place. I'm super confused. I like it. Not many for Settlement. Shazin, Small Islands, Star Clicker. Eric Summer wrote Hot, and he's the only person who wrote anything on it. No one played Jeff's new Super Pinball, but maybe that's the kind of game you don't play at a con and you play it at home. Tabanusi, the new T game, all hot. And yet, I met several people who did not like it, so I'm not sure if those people just didn't write their names on here, but we'll see where that one ends up. That Time You Killed Me, which is right here behind me. I'm talking about a lot of hots and a few knots. I definitely can see that because it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's very, very, very thinky. Trek 12, not many people. Tumbletown, not many people. Unfathomable, all hot. But again, this is one of those games I think you don't play unless you're going to like it, probably. Unsettled's interesting to me because there's only 4 names here under hot, nothing under not. But what surprised me is not that there's that, it's that I saw this game out all the time. So a lot of people played it. So I'm curious what people thought. Vagrant Song, Z just reviewed it. I really feel like reviewing it myself because of my super high opinion of the game. But just some hots there. No one played Wonder Book. X-Men United. Now this one I find interesting is X-Men United. It's all hot, right? Everyone was playing it. Lots of people were playing it. I didn't see anyone playing Marvel United. Come on, folks. You could play both. You could even mix them together. And then in what is apparently a bookkeeping error, Zapotec, all hot. Don't know how that happened. Maybe they played a different game. I'm kidding. It's a fine game. Obviously I'm alone in my not loving it. Oh, Mike doesn't like it either. All right. There you go. Well, there you folks. That's just some information about the games people played at the retreat. I like doing this. I might do this in the future at our different conventions because it's just fun and it's interesting to do to see what the results are at the end. And that's what I was about to say. That's what I think. That's not what I think. That's what y'all think. Let's keep moving.
Hello, Proti here, your Romanian content creator, and today I will continue my series where I will talk about a specific part of a game, tell you my opinion about it and why I like it. And today we will talk about Wingspan. Wingspan is an engine builder where you play birds on your player board, which is split into 3 habitats, and those habitats has each and every of it has its specific, let's say, base action, like gathering food, eggs, and drawing cards. Like gathering food, leg eggs, and drawing cards. And depending on how many birds you have played in that habitat, those powers or those actions are more powerful. Of course, you have different abilities on the birds, even more types of different abilities with the extensions and so on. But what I want to talk about is a type of card which comes in the base game, and this is this type of card. It has a brown activity. The text is in Romanian. I will tell you what it's doing, and it is a brown action. That means every time when you use a habitat action, you will trigger all the brown actions. And this brown action of the birds that I want to talk about is after you make those like the base habitat actions and go to this bird, it has to be the most to the right bird in that habitat. So right after the action, this is the first bird that will trigger. And you can move that bird to one of the other 2 habitats. And I find it really strategic and interesting because if you wanted to get resources now, you got a better basic action because of that bird. And then you move it down to laying eggs, for example, because next turn you want to lay eggs with your basic action. And so that by moving that bird there, your laying eggs action is more powerful. And if you are able to keep this card always on the right and play with it between the different habitats, you will always have a better basic habitat action, let's say. And this I find really interesting. And if you are able to get this card during the game and then use it in a proper way, I think you can always have a better outcome from your basic actions. Yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about out of Wingspan. Thank you and have a nice breakfast.
First of all, not sarcasm on Vagrant Song. I really did like that one. Secondly, don't mock the binder stuff. If we can't convince you to come to a Dice Tower retreat at this point in time, we cannot convince you at all. But we'll be putting up a little blog of that later on. I don't know when it's all edited. We took another blog, so hopefully you can see what it's like. And you can always go look at the pictures and stuff people posted at the retreat because it was amazing. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Eternals. So Eternals came out, what, 2 weeks ago now? Yeah, a couple weeks ago. So I immediately went out to see it in the theater so that I could get a much needed nap. So my initial reactions to Eternals were quite negative. They're still fairly negative. I've cooled on my dislike of it for a bit, but I thought I would talk about it. So Eternals is a movie about a bunch of extremely powerful people, because the Marvel Universe doesn't have enough of them. Extremely powerful people that are sent to our planet by some giant godlike thing you've seen its head in Guardians of the Galaxy. One of their heads is like a space base, and it sent it there to stop these alien creatures that are trying to kill humans for whatever reason. And don't worry, I'm being a little bit vague on the plot of the movie, but they will explain the plot to you in excruciating detail throughout the movie. So don't worry about that. There's a lot of exposition. That is the point where I took my nap. The movie has a big cast of characters, and I know a lot of people hate big cast of characters. I don't. I like big cast of characters. I like it. This movie had a lot of cool diversity amongst the characters. One of the characters could not hear, so they used sign language. That was cool. In fact, that was one of the better characters in the movie. So there's a lot of cool things in that regard. But I didn't like it because a few things. First of all, it felt very disconnected from the Marvel Universe. At one point they mentioned, oh, we didn't stop Thanos because reasons. They weren't very good reasons, and in fact those reasons made less sense after their dump of exposition. But that was pretty much the only connection to Marvel Universe. And they also mentioned the Avengers once. Basically, it was kind of like, we're in this universe, okay, let's go back to our own thing. But it was overly serious. There was one character and his henchmen, I guess, who were quite funny. And I don't think the whole thing needs to be a laugh riot. But it just felt like they were trying to out-serious the DC Universe. In fact, I tell people this movie itself felt like a DC Universe movie. Now, this is a very divisive movie. A lot of people really enjoy it, and I get that. It's just that when it was over, I was like, man, I hope this was a one and done. I don't really want to see most of these characters again. I don't want this to affect the Marvel Universe. These characters are too strong to interact with the Avengers and their powers and stuff. And I just didn't care. The big finale of this one was an I don't care moment. The bad guy, I didn't care. There was a lot of crying, and I didn't care. There was supposedly great love, and I didn't care. In fact, the main actress, her chemistry with a non-main character was stronger than her chemistry with the main character in this one. Then there was a few strong relationships, but they always seemed like they were more in the background than in the forefront of the movie. It was also interminably long. Now, shot for shot, amazing. It looked fantastic. Everything looked great. It was one of those movies I was glad to see in a theater because of two reasons. One, the sound and the visuals were amazing, and two, it was a really comfortable chair to fall asleep in. But overall, I was more annoyed at the movie than not. It's currently my least favorite of all the Marvel movies, and yes, I'm including Hulk and Hulk and Thor 2 in there. I don't know. Just was not my style. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying I didn't like it, which I know there's not a whole lot of difference between those. But I'm still excited about Hawkeye, and I'm beyond excited about Spider-Man. I heard the new trailer is dropping today. Ooh, that's going to be exciting. So anyway, that's what I think about Eternals.
What's going on, my friends? I have some bad news. No Redford today. So let's get right to it. Today, I want to show you Infinity Gauntlet, also known as Marvel Love Letter. Although this plays differently than the original Love Letter game. Here, you'll play one versus many, with one player taking the role of Thanos.
Oh, Thanos!
And the other players taking the role of the heroes. Hey, Redford.
I don't know who that is, civilian. I am Spiderford. What is this about Thanos?
Gameplay is simple. Draw a card, play a card, like Love Letter.
Right.
This is a deduction game where you're trying to figure out what cards may be in your opponent's hands. However, both the heroes and Thanos will be performing attacks.
Chief, I mean, Civilian, this is serious. This is not a game.
Actually, it is. Thanos will have his own deck and will win if he can bring the hero's health to 0 or have all the Infinity Stones in front of him or in his hand.
What?
The hero's only path to victory is to defeat Thanos. Each time either side wins an attack, their side's health meter drops by 1.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Well, you shouldn't, because the game is a lot of fun.
What game?
As Thanos, your cards are very powerful, and played right, you can manage a quick victory. As the heroes, working together is the key to victory. The turns are quick, and you can play a game in minutes.
Good, because we don't have much time.
You're right. So let's wrap it up. If you want to see more of us, head on over to the Board Dad on YouTube and Instagram. And that's it for now. We'll see you.
No time for that. Gotta swing. Ah! Oh, that didn't work out. I hit the washing machine.
This week's Spotlight is brought to you by Thor's Cliff, a competitive game for 2 to 4 players. In 993 AD, the daughter of Thor is born on an island called Thor's Cliff. 7 years later, in the year 1000, 4 heroes battle for the favor of the mighty child who could change the fate of their entire world while ancient forces reawaken. In Thor's Hammer, players try to earn the love of Thor's daughter by gifting her amber and gemstones. Each player follows their own strategy according to their hero's individual abilities, by earning silver, fighting trolls, recruiting new warriors, and buying various items for their heroes. Players battle each other in the strategic adventure game, and the game even includes a 3-part introduction narrating the epic backstory, which lets players learn the rules step by step with every chapter. For more information, please check out the campaign, which is now live on Kickstarter.
And that is it for today, folks. Thanks so much for watching Board Game Breakfast. I will see you at 3 o'clock today, Eastern Standard Time, as we continue the Shoots and Marbles Champions. If you don't know what we're talking about, come. We actually have a little bit of news to mention during the Shoots and Marbles things for fans of that. But it's a lot of fun. Come cheer for your favorite racer live. Until then, though, with a thanks to all my fantastic contributors on the show, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast on the Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production.